Alright guys, thanks for joining in. Today I've got a special video for you. We're going to do an unboxing of the Sig Sauer Kilo 2400 ABS Rangefinder. Pretty excited to bring this guys to you and do a video review. This is going to be a multi-part review, so we'll do some unboxing today. We'll show you what comes in the box, what's in there, and then also we'll do some out in the field video review of this as well. So let's go ahead and get into this thing. Take a look here. It's got a nice little seal here. We'll cut that open. And let's take a look inside. Alright. Got us a user's manual here. Looks pretty intuitive. Take a look at that a little bit more in depth. I've already downloaded the app on my phone and set up the profiles. I did that a couple of days ago. And then we've got this pretty nice little pouch here. And that looks like that's everything that's in the box. So let's take this. Looks like there's a couple of different pouches here. Doubt there's anything in the front pouch here. No. Nothing in that one. And let's open this up. Oh, how cool is this? So it looks like we've got 3 batteries. Nice little battery compartment there. Really nice pen. It looks like, I'm assuming it's a pen. Oh wow, that's pretty cool. It's got a nice soft tip. And then an actual pen on this side. Made out of, feels like a billet aluminum, I'm guessing. That is a really, really nice pen. That'll go nice in my range bag for competitions. And then on this side of the pouch, we've got the weather flow meter. I'll get this out of the case and let you guys take a look at that. So that's the weather flow meter that comes with it. Set that aside. We've got the lanyard. Looks like on this side of the case we've got the tripod adapter. Very nice aluminum metal tripod adapter. And then the Grand Champion rangefinder itself. And there it is. That's pretty fancy. Very nice. I like the color. A little different than last year's model, the black on black. And I'm assuming there's probably no battery in this thing. Let's take a look here. It is correct, no battery. So we'll get a battery installed in this thing, go through the user's manual, and we'll be back for a little bit more video review here. It looks like that's everything that's included in the case. You can see the case here. Really nice, heavy duty, padded. It's got the molly webbing straps on there. That's super nice. I really like that. I'm going to attach that right to the front of my my rifle bag for competitions, so that we'll keep this thing nice and safe and clean. That's really cool. This pen, I mean, that's totally was not expecting that. Give you guys an up close. Hopefully you can see here. Get it to focus. It's got a nice rubber tip for you know, playing on your smartphone, and then the pen end is on this side. So that's pretty fancy. I like that. Cool. So stand by, guys, and we'll get this thing up and running, and we'll keep going with the video review. Alright, thanks for joining us today, guys. We are here at my local gun range, and we're going to do some product reviews, some product testing of the new Sig Kilo 2400 rangefinder. You guys probably were tuning in from the previous video that I had started back at the shop, just doing an unboxing of this product. I got out to play with it a little bit last night and kind of set up the ballistic features and those sorts of things. So today we're going to use it. I don't have an extreme range here today. The farthest we can shoot is about 430 yards. But there are some other objects and things that we can range, and we're going to compare that with some of our different shooter apps. Is one of the apps that I use, and then Applied Ballistics is the other app that I use on my smartphone for doing doe corrections. So we're going to play with this a little bit today, so stay tuned. I hope you enjoy this segment of today's video review of the Sig Sauer Applied Ballistics 2400 ABS. Alright, hopefully you guys can see me. So what we're going to do, the first test we're going to run here is just some basic comparison. I've got my Sig Kilo 2400, and then I've got my shooter app, which is my favorite app of the apps that I've got on my phone. And I'm actually going to be ranging some trees, some brushes and whatnot on the hill back here, and getting some ballistic solutions from the Sig Kilo rangefinder. And then I'm also going to give you some readings. We're going to check it as compared to the the shooter app. So let's go ahead and do some ranging here. And I'm going to pull up the Sig so that it gives me, I got 1,120 yards. It's giving me a correction of 31.10 MOA, and I'm going to take a snapshot of that so you guys can see it here. One thing that's important to know about this that I've found out so far is that you can manually enter the wind speed, wind direction, and those sorts of things. We've got a relatively calm morning, maybe a 1 to 2 mile an hour wind coming from my left to right this morning. So I'm going to go ahead and in this first experiment here that I've done, I manually entered in the wind speed and direction last night, and so we're going to go ahead and clear this out. Sync it to the device, because the first range that I showed there, it was giving me the wind speed correction from last night from manual entering. So let's do it again. Alright, 1,126 yards. I'm ranging a bush up on the hill over there, and there we go, that's much better. So I'm getting 1,125.6 yards. I don't know if you guys can see this. 31.37 correction for MOA and elevation. It's giving me 0.7 MOA for zero wind. That's taking in effect for the Corrales effect and also for spin drift. So I would dial 0.7 tenths of an MOA to the left to correct for spin drift. Now let's pull up our shooter app. We got to remember 1125. And we're going to go ahead and dial this in. I've already calculated and calibrated the shooter app this morning using the atmospheric temperatures and conditions from the rangefinder, or I'm sorry, from the phone here. So 1,125 yards, got a 0 mile an hour wind, and we've got 0 angle on the wind. And this is giving me a ballistic solution of 31. Take a picture of that. 31.0 MOA up and 0.9 MOA clicks left. So it's pretty close. It should be noted that I have this app I've dialed in the correction factor for this scope. So this is the Burris XTR2 scope, and it has a small, very minor correction factor, which I was able to program into the shooter app. I'm not sure if I'm able to do it with the rangefinder yet. That's one of the things that I've got to research a little bit. So that may be the difference, but that's pretty close. So we got 31.0 MOA up for elevation on the shooter app, and let's go back to the Kilo app, and it gave me 31.3, so 3/10 difference. In all honesty, I think that's pretty close. Obviously, I haven't got to shoot this to test it that far. The farthest I've shot this gun so far was at 1075 using the shooter app, and it was pretty darn close. The last time I shot twice at a target at 1075. I had a miss on the first one. I think that was wind because my elevation seemed pretty good. Hit on the second. So pretty happy with that. We'll do some more video reviews.
Right,
Stay tuned,
guys.
We're back. Thanks for joining me. And as you can see, we're back in the shop now. We had a chance to take the Sig Kilo for a test drive. I'm going to show you a video right now of using it out at my local range. Now I can only shoot at 430 yards, so the video you're about to see is me shooting some clay pigeons at 430 yards. Using the Sig Kilo, I was able to range the target right at 430 yards. It gave me an immediate feedback and a holdover, and I actually snapped a picture here so I could remind myself exactly what it said, but let me pull that up real quick. and essentially pulled up at 429.5 yards, and it gave me a MOA holdover of 5.52. And so I dialed up to 5.52. You're going to see that now. I'm going to shoot, and as you'll see, I shoot over the clay pigeon. I dialed down to 5.2, made a correction, and struck the clay pigeon. And I did that on 2 occasions. I wanted to make sure that that was the case. And sure enough, on both occasions, I'll show you both videos now. So as you can see in the video, I shot over it and then I struck the clay pigeon. And so I dialed up for 5.5, which is what the Sig Sauer Kilo 2400 told me to dial for. And that's using all of the data, all the ballistic coefficients, the applied ballistics coefficients, their data in the Sig Sauer app. And I entered it exactly as I entered it into my shooter app, which is the other app that I use on my phone. And as you saw, I shot over it the first time, and then I hit it the second time. So I went back and I brought up my data charts, and these are my data charts for when I'm competing. And this is a data chart that I put together using the shooter app when I first developed this load, and that was the load that I was shooting today. And if I pull this up, and I've got 425 yards, is 5.3, which was when I dialed down to 5.2 is when I struck the clay pigeon. So my data card's a little bit more accurate than the Sig Sauer. It's not terribly inaccurate. You know, I only shot over it. In fact, I think the first shot, if you look closely, it actually hit the top edge of the clay pigeon, and the second shot center punched it. And so it's only a couple inches high, and that's one click at 500 yards. So, you know, I'm shooting at a 3.5 inch, 4 inch target. I guess those clay pigeons are about 4.5 inches. That's not really a big deal. That's still pretty close, and certainly for a hunting situation would be very viable. So some final thoughts on the rangefinder itself, and I think I could probably get it a little more accurate. There's a feature in here where if you go into the app itself, and I'm going to do so now, if you go into, and I don't know if you guys can see this or not, but hopefully it'll focus for you. This is the main menu, and if you go into your gun profiles and you can select one of the profiles, I've got my hunting rifle, my competition gun, and then my AR here. If you select this profile, you can actually go up and calibrate it. And unfortunately, I'm not able to calibrate it. I'm going to have to call SIG or get a hold of Applied Ballistics to see if they can help me with this. But when I touch calibrate, first it says you have to be connected, which, give me a second, we'll do that. Okay, we're connected. It more or less says that you have to enter the range and yardage, so I'm sorry, the yardage in range, and then also your bullet drop, your actual bullet drop at that distance, and you can calibrate that so that you get your drop tart exactly correct. But I'm not able to do that. It says that I have to first range an object to do so. I've tried this multiple times outside. For whatever reason, it just does not like me trying to calibrate that particular setting. And so for whatever reason, I don't know why that is. Let's see here, let me get connected again. All right, now we're connected. It's having a problem getting connected there. It can be a little finicky with the Bluetooth to connect. And I say that in that it's not really an issue. It usually connects right away. I've had to close out of the app a few times. So it says prior to calibrating the current profile, you must range a target with the same synced profile selected on the Kilo, which I've done. This has got my Howa 6.5 Creedmoor synced to it, and for whatever reason, I don't know why, but it just won't allow me to manually enter those yardages, and it won't pick them up when I scan it. So I'll have to do a little bit more research on that. But overall, this really is a game-changing product, you know, especially for hunters. You know, myself included, I'm primarily a hunter, and I do a lot of shooting just for fun and some a little bit for competition, but primarily to become a better hunter. And ultimately, this is a game changer, I think, at least in my opinion, for the hunting situations, because it's so quick, it's so automatic. You don't have to use the phone if you don't want to. You don't have to be running the app. That's the beauty of this device. Is, you know, even if you've got a Kestrel or whatever the case may be. I have an old Kestrel that doesn't have the Applied Ballistics software in it, so it gives me a wind speed. I see myself not using my phone so much in the app so much during hunting situations, but maybe checking the wind with my Kestrel. It takes just a couple of seconds to program in the wind speed and direction into the Kilo, and get a yardage, get a range on an animal. Usually, if you're shooting at an animal that's, you know, 500, 600, 700, 800 yards away, more than likely you're going to have some time to get a wind reading, scan, you know, hit it, get your dope, enter your windage, all those things, and get a correct readout. And you don't have to fumble with a phone, especially if it's cold out. You know, these buttons are pretty large, the mode button and then the range button. It literally takes, you know, we'll do it right now, and I'll show you how long it would take to set up. Let's say I have a 10-mile-an-hour wind blowing from left to right at 3 o'clock. So I'm going to just do this real quick. So it's already on. I'm going to hold the mode button for about 3 seconds. All right, now it brings up line of sight. We're going to go ahead and cycle through that because I don't want that. It brings up my profile. We're going to cycle through that because I don't want that. Now it brings up my wind direction, and it says 6 o'clock, but I'm going to change that to 3 o'clock. So that's done. Miles per hour, wind speed is in miles per hour. We want that. Now we're going to change our wind speed, and that's changed. Now we're going to cycle through everything else. It's going to program itself. And now we're ready to range. Boom. And now I have a range. So I would say that took less than 20 seconds, maybe 30 seconds, to program it with a 10-mile-an-hour wind from left to right at 3 o'clock. So it's pretty quick to change and to program the rangefinder to calculate your wind. If you want to use the included wind meter, it's pretty handy. One thing I don't like about it is that you can plug this into your phone. You know, and most phones, some phones have it on the bottom, some phones have it on the top. My iPhone has it on the bottom. What I was able to do today, and it's kind of interesting, is so you can sit there and you can say, okay, you can run this and, you know, hold it up and say you've got a 10-mile-an-hour wind, you're shooting this direction, the wind's blowing across left to right, 3 miles per hour, or I'm sorry, at 3 o'clock. You know, obviously this thing rotates. So you get your wind, and the thing that I don't like about this is, so essentially you have to pull up the environmental screen, and this is kind of what it looks like. Hopefully, again, it'll focus for you. But it'll give you your wind speed, and then you kind of have to manually enter the direction. And let's see if I can get this thing connected here. So it's connected, and we would swap this around so that the wind speed is blowing from left to right at 3 o'clock. And now you can go in and you can manually enter your wind speed. Maybe. See if it'll let me do it. Oh, it probably won't because this is connected. So now I can manually enter it and just tap anywhere and you're done. And you can manually enter the direction as well, usually. This is the one thing that's kind of frustrating about this app is that, oh yeah, that's how you enter it manually, is you just touch the dial. And so ultimately, you can enter it manually, but if you want to keep this running, you can actually stand, you know, holding this thing in the wind. Let's say the wind's blowing across, so you'd want to, you know, make sure you've got it like that. And I'm only keeping this pointed towards you so that you can see it, but usually you'd have it in your hand like this maybe, and so that the wind is coming across, and you could actually range a target while this is running, and it will give you the current wind speed when you range. Now, obviously, you need to take into consideration that the wind speed, this is the wind speed at your location, not the target's location, so you need to adjust appropriately for that. You know, you may be in a little hole where you're out of the wind. The target that you're shooting at may be on the top of a barren ridge, and it could be really howling over there, so you need to take that into consideration. So given that, it works pretty well. I don't like the fact that if you manually enter data into, let's bring this back up here. If you manually enter data into this environmental screen, you have to touch sync in order to send that information to here, so that it'll be locked in, I guess. So let's say you get a 15 mile per hour wind at 9 o'clock, and you don't want to hold this up and shoot with the rangefinder at the same time. So what you'll have to do is, because as soon as you take this down out of the wind meter is going to stop. So you're going to have to manually enter that wind speed, 10 miles per hour, manually enter your direction, and then hit sync. And that will send it to the rangefinder. And now when you go to range, you don't have to have that in your hand, and you can range and you'll be ready to go. So all in all, it's a great product. I'm looking forward to playing with it some more. The one thing that I really am curious about is I've got to figure out how to calibrate the specific drop data so that it matches my bullet exactly. And then also I would like to figure out how to calibrate for what's the right word I'm looking for? Vertical correction in a scope. So like if your turrets, so let's say if you dial up 30 MOA in your turret, and your turret doesn't dial up exactly 30 MOA, which is the case for my Burris XTR2 scope. You guys can watch my other video on that. I'm hoping that this is programmable, that you can program in the correction factor. That's the term I was looking for, the correction factor of the scope, which on mine is 0.993, I think. And that could have been the difference in that correction today at 530 yards. So overall, I'm pretty happy with this. I'm going to keep playing with it. I may bring you another video review when it's all said and done and I've had some time behind it to play with it some more, but very happy with it. I definitely recommend one of these, especially if you're a hunter. I think this is going to be a great tool if you hunt at long ranges. And even for competitions, I think it's going to be a good tool. I've got a match coming up here in 2 weeks and we're going to put it to the test. So thanks for watching.